become how we express our identities. And that's killing the wolves inside of us. Before I explain anything else, I would like to establish that the wolves inside of us aren't real, because of course real wolves are really, really big if you've ever seen a wolf, and we don't necessarily want them anywhere near our internal organs. However, the wolves we will be imagining today, if you will, are just as majestic and unique and beautiful. They're essentially a representation of who we are. We have many because, well, the human identity is multifaceted. We're made up of several different parts that come together to form a single-ish entity, hence the pack of wolves. And we're killing them. You know why? We're buying ourselves, or rather, we're trying to buy ourselves. It's the unethical shortcut to all who am I and what should I do, relying on products to tell you who you are. And it's not a good idea, because doing this is directly hurting how we express our wolves, or who we really are deep inside. So the main issue is nowadays that people look at things as solutions. People want to ask the genie for money, infinite money, forever, because they're believing in something I like to call the 3 money-making ideas. And those are that you can buy who you are, you should buy who you are, and that your life would be better if you bought who you are. And since we're being sold these ideas, we aren't taking care of what we should be taking care of, the wolves inside of us. And we have to save our wolves, and to do that, we have to know why are we led to believe these things, and what can we do? So, the first money-making idea is that you can buy who you are. And, well, it might seem a little bit strange, but this one is everywhere. Because, okay, first, a fun fact about the real wolves. People don't really like them anymore. Well, so while there's evidence of wolves being respected in certain folk legends in older societies, later in history, especially in the Western world, they began to be feared and hunted for sport. And I think this is similar to what's happening to our inside wolves. We're giving in more and more to the idea that we should be scared of the wolves inside of us, that we should get rid of them. And furthermore, we're buying cages for our wolves. We're using stuff to stop them from shining through, because we're starting to believe that what we have and what we buy can define who we are instead of embracing the wolves inside of us. Okay, so a way this is happening is through the commodification of culture, or how culture is slowly being turned into products. And I encountered this while going through an emo phase a few years ago. And if you're not familiar with the term, it's this phenomenon where teenage or younger people develop an interest in the emo culture or the emo style, which looks, well, something like this, right? And so during this phase, I bought a lot of things that, hi mom, okay, during this phase, I bought a lot of things that I didn't necessarily want or need. And well, why? Why was I doing this? Why was I buying all this stuff? That was because, well, I was interested in the emo culture, but the thing was, the more accessible platform for me to, pursue this interest wasn't in-depth research on the history of emo. No, it was images and posts on social media. It was emo's portrayal in pop culture. And so, as a result of that, I was overwhelmingly only shown how emo was supposed to look, with dark clothes, accessories, things that I could buy. So I would buy this stuff, but I always felt like I needed more stuff. And so I felt inadequate, so I would buy more stuff. So I later learned that this was just a construct created by companies so they could stick the label of emo onto their products so they could sell more stuff. And also a result of generalization made in pop culture. And so, because the real emo social subculture wasn't about buying fingerless gloves and black eyeliner, it was about, underground DIY shows. It was about thrifting your own clothes. It was about enjoying emo music, which was and still is an established genre of music. And to me, it's kind of crazy because, we don't know that emo was a thriving subculture that was born out of the DC hardcore punk scene in the 80s. And, companies have just blended all of this into products that can sell. And I also learned that this had happened to other groups as well, with the grunge movement, where the DIY aesthetic of grunge was heavily commodified, made into products such as ripped jeans and overpriced band shirts. And also with the LGBTQIA plus community and several ethnic communities, where companies are taking advantage of people's pride in their wolves, their culture, their identity, to just sell more stuff. So yeah, we are being convinced we can buy who we are. Companies are selling products saying you'll be way cooler if you buy them. Your wolves, what you really want, forget about them. You want this thing. Or your wolves will be so much more shinier and so much more obvious if you buy all this stuff, and if you don't, well, you're not good enough. Okay. We're also led to believe the second money-making idea. You should buy who you are. So through the increase of online shopping and social media, we've been encouraged to buy more stuff in general. There's always a new product to buy, a thing that everyone has. And the reason people are willing to buy so much stuff, even though we might not need it, is, according to neuroscientists, partially due to the dopamine rush that comes with buying something new. So dopamine is the hormone that allows us to feel content and happy, and it's also produced when we buy something new. The issue is that it's usually shown that this dopamine rush runs out fairly quickly, sometimes even before we have the thing that we bought. And so, but we still want to feel happy, we still want to feel content. And so the cycle continues. The first consequence of this is that buying a lot of what you own limits what you can have. And well, that might seem a little weird because Taobao has everything, right? And if not, there's always Amazon. Yeah, no. So there's always a finite amount of stuff that companies can conjure up. Because when you're buying something that's mass-produced in factories, hundreds upon hundreds every single day, your shoes are truly no different than the shoes on the guy next door. And something that's working alongside of this is a large decrease in DIY or customization. When was the last time you saw someone wearing something heavily customized or modified to fit their own tastes? How many of your favorite things that you own are from the store? It's kind of become less cool to customize and modify your own things, or rather people are becoming more scared to customize and modify their own things. And because of that, we're depriving ourselves of options. Furthermore, by doing this, we're losing individuality. We're allowing ourselves to blend into the crowd and being more passive in our self-expression. Isn't there always more you can do to feel more like yourself? Or, more you can experiment with to figure out who you really are? And okay, as a side note, it's also become possible to pay companies to customize stuff for you, which is interesting to say the least. Because, well, it's, products are being sold with the look of DIY, but without the soul and the core ideals of DIY, which is to learn the skill and make something that's truly yours. Don't get me started on what the wolves think of this. I mean, they ain't happy, because wolves are beautiful, detailed creatures and they're multidimensional. Each and every one is unique. And the way we choose to express all these wolves inside of us, bland, mass-produced, generalized for everyone products. All right, so this leads me to the third moneymaker. Your life would be better if you bought who you are. Because most people do this because deep inside, we think it'll make our life better. Even though, deeper inside, 17 wolves are trying to escape the cell they've been trapped in with a metal spoon. So it doesn't matter that you think this product will magically make you cooler, because your wolves are going stir crazy. So we will now go from preaching town to information station. I'm going to tell you what you can do about this. I just wanted to get into our heads that sometimes things are just being sold to you. There are things that are being advertised to make you feel like you want them, and things that you actually want, and the actual amount of the latter would surprise you. And okay, also, we have to start learning skills. The alternative to buying yourself is figuring out what you really want. And this is part of that. I know A lot of it is difficult. It's time consuming to learn a new skill. And did I mention it was difficult? But as I said, gaining the skill will be much more rewarding in the long run. And I've also been talking a lot about DIY and customization. And I think I want to stress that these things, alongside of letting yourself learn skills, will help so much in the long journey of figuring out who you really are. And because being creative and developing skills is important in general, because it'll help you in many different aspects of your life. But the whole point of it is eventually being able to make things that are for you and only you. And it'll make your wolves super mega happy. So I drew this picture. My brother didn't like it. He thought it was freaky. Hi, James. He's over there. Everyone look back. Okay, but I made it. Amazon didn't come up with it. It's not for everyone. It's from my brain, and I made the thing that I wanted, and now I have the thing that I wanted. So it's not really a piece of DIY, because it's unique to me, but it's got the spirit of it. I made something for me, myself, and I didn't buy something perfect and crowd-pleasing and aesthetic to stick in my room. I made this, and I think it's epic. So, my last message is this. Let all your wolves out. Take a good look at those wolves. Give them a little pat on the head. Stop buying yourself. Thank you.